Welcome to Dr Joe Unplugged. The topics discussed in this podcast will reflect my opinions and are not in any way to be regarded as medical advice. Large number of people have pets and love their pets, and there's a lot of work that shows health benefits of owning a pet. Now, once again, it's not a treatment for any specific condition. It's part of enjoyment of life. But in amongst that, most of the attention has been on the ownership of dogs. And having personally owned cats and dogs over the years, and had a few other different types of pets as well through the journey. I'm not saying in any way that I'm an expert across all of those things, but they all have their pluses, and like with everything in life, there are some minuses as well. But the health benefits of dogs probably been more comprehensively studied, if you like, and might be a little bit more obvious because dogs typically need to get walked. And therefore, if you're not doing that much exercise and you get a dog and you need to walk the dog, then you may well do that, whereas if it was just for you, and hopefully you would go out and do a walk and do some exercise, but it is the case that some people, a lot of people in fact, and it's understandable, may need a little bit of a prod or a prompt, and having the dog gets you to do that, and that's a good thing. And it's also known that, particularly if you're going walking down the park and you've got a dog, there can also be a social component to that people may well stop and talk to you. If you've got a dog, they might not stop and talk to you if you haven't. And again, it just does depend on the individual and the circumstances, but there is some sociability about owning a dog, and we spoke before about the cardiovascular and fitness benefits. Cats get a little bit less airtime, and look, not everybody is a dog lover, but it's relatively rare to find people who are quite anti-dogs. They might not want one themselves, and some people are scared of dogs, but it's rare to find people who are really quite passionately anti-dogs. Cats are a little bit different. Some people are very passionate about their cats, and some people take that a little bit too far, and it certainly is the case that having a dozen or so cats in a urban situation, probably not a great idea. One can take any good idea too far, and I won't go into any of the cliches. I know, in fact, I'm sure you know some of the references. But some people, it's just like, cats are the devil incarnate and, to blame for everything. It's particularly in Australia, the cats get the blame for loss of bird life and wildlife. Nobody actually knows that it's cats. They may be a contributor, but, wildlife since the year dot, to quote the late crocodile hunter, are subject to nature's way. And we know there are foxes around the place as well, and, it's not like there's a crime scene investigation. But it's easy to blame cats, and yes, cats will chase after the birds. They'll also chase after rats. And the story of the Pied Piper, again, an interesting one. They banished him, all the rats came back. If you get rid of all the cats and keep them all indoors, we may or may not see a surge in rats. But anyway, an interesting article, and we'll put it in the description as usual, about cats and the scientific benefits of being a cat lover. I'm always a little bit conflicted when we talk about these sorts of studies because I'm not quite sure why such a study would get done and who's paid for it. And we've spoken about garbage research before, and I don't think there's any basis to having a pet other than you want to look after it and you're going to care for it and you have some genuine love and or affection for that particular animal. Almost don't do it. But this story says that 49 million homes in the USA have a cat. I don't know the number of homes in the USA, but that strikes me as a reasonably high number. And they spend over $1,000 into the US dollars per year on them. Australian data and UK data may be comparable. It's exactly the same. A lot of people have a cat. Some people have two. And for people who love them, they really do bring some joy to the life, especially in an older age group. And I can say my late mother was a cat lover, and in the years after my father passed away, having a cat brought her some significant comfort. She was living by herself and found having a cat very, very comforting. Not, again, a cure for illnesses. So the number one reason is, yes, it can reduce loneliness. And yeah, cats can be a little bit aloof, but when they live with you, typically they'll either come and sit on your lap or next to you or purr or do something that just makes you feel good about them and about you having them. Apparently the Gen Zs, and this is surprising, cats are more part of the family than ever before. They're the largest percentage of pet owners, and 59, this is again American data, 59% of them own at least one cat. In Japan, people own more cats than dogs, which that probably does make some sense. People don't have a lot of living space in Japan. I've not been there, but there's a lot of people on not a large amount of land, say compared to Australia or the USA. It's probably easier to have a dog and even a slightly bigger dog, particularly if you're on some larger acreage, or even if you're not, there's plenty of parks nearby. I suspect in Japan, having a smaller animal is a little bit easier. People can go over the top throwing birthday parties. I'm not sure that really is a great idea. 82% of pet owners say their pets are like their little child. And a pet is not a child, but we also see people can, in their own way, see it as they like. Interacting with cats, and I think this would probably be broader for other pets, has a positive effect on the brain, activates the prefrontal cortex, so it's going to release some of our endorphins, our happy hormones, because we're happy. There's other ways we can be happy as well, sure. But to get back to what we're talking about here, yes, pet ownership and interacting with your pet, in this instance cat, makes you feel good. Yes, cats are, as we said before, can be a bit more aloof. They don't tend to come when you call them, but they also are quite faithful in their own way. And 2024 study confirmed people who have a dog or a cat generally are happier than those without. Now, maybe it also is if you're a bit happier, you go and get yourself a pet. May cut two ways. We don't really know. Petting an animal does reduce your stress. You tend to get out of flight or flight. It has a nurturing effect. You're nurturing something. You have some responsibility, a bit like with a child. Again, pet is not a child. But that nurturing is good for us, and we're in a positive frame of mind, and it gets us out of fight or flight, and we are less stressed. And it also causes us to be responsible. We are responsible for feeding that animal, for looking after it, for brushing it, for caring for it, for keeping it out of harm's way. It develops a sense of responsibility, and that's where having pets is very, very good for children. And again, age appropriate and animal specific. Probably don't buy them a pet snake. A pet can be something for a child to start to learn to take care of it and have some limited responsibility for a living thing other than his or herself. And again, even cat owners are a little bit more likely to get outdoors, perhaps into their backyards. And no, it's not a great idea to let cats run feral around the entire neighbourhood, notwithstanding what I said before, that no, they're absolutely not to blame for everything that certain academics and people in government tend to want to blame them for. When a cat purrs, it creates a consistent patterned frequency between 25 and 150 hertz. Fun fact, I didn't know this. And typically, humans tend to react to that as well. And again, it has this sort of slightly calming effect. So, pets are good for us, and it's interesting. Nobody has to tell you to get a pet. We don't need government incentives to get a pet. Don't need tax breaks to get a pet. It's interesting how steps that people are happy to take and that they see benefit them, you don't need to get the government involved. People will do it off their own volition because they know it's good for them. I've never seen tax breaks for people to get a mobile phone, but just about everybody has one these days. And yes, in certain circumstances, there may be some tax deductibility, but that's not the reason people are buying them. You don't need subsidies to get a pet. You don't need subsidies to get a mobile phone. You do it because it benefits you and you want to do it. Tells us something. Again, you can draw your own conclusions as to what I might have in the back of my mind, but that's perhaps for another day. Conclusion, we need more objective studies. No, we actually don't. There is such a thing as emotional support animals, and they can be used, and we know about guide dogs, and it's something different as well. But we can make our lives simple. If we like pets, then yes, we should look into getting one, and we should get one that we know we can look after and that we can afford and that we're not going to get tired of after a week, and then certainly that we're not going to dump. So there's responsibility with pet ownership. So don't do it if you're not going to be responsible and if it's not for you. But for a large number of people, and the data bears this out, it is, and they are a joy. And whether that is a dog or whether that is goldfish for those that way inclined, or a cat, and I'll put my hand up. I've had a cat most of the time that I've been on this planet, and yes, it is a joy, but absolutely not for everybody. Then do that and get the enjoyment and behave as a responsible owner of whichever pet or pets you have. Thanks for listening to Dr. Joe Unplugged. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, share, and consider subscribing. Tell your friends. If there are topics you'd like to see covered, be in touch through the chat or email info@drjoe.net.au. We'll be uploading new content each Monday, and soon we'll be putting these videos out on X. You can follow me there at Dr. Joe's DIY Health.